I know the first 40 episodes of this were just a bunch of random nonsense, but at least we could joke.
Yeah, I know.
This is just,
God.
we're just reading at this point.
It's
just
just
like
so rough. Welcome back to Bookend Gaming.
Hi.
It's Otaku Tuesday.
It is
Another week.
another Tuesday of depression coming your way.
Congratulations, everyone. You made it through another week. For those of us that didn't make it, or just quit because they don't want to watch this anymore,
Oh, well, that's
I
rude.
guess I can't blame you.
Yeah. We've gotten pretty boring with it. The jokes are starting to run thin.
Well, it's very depressing, so what do you want from us?
All we can say is things about poop and cum whore, and
Yeah!
that's about it.
That's
what we got.
That's the extent of our comedy chops.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Sakuma's got some nice thighs.
I know, right? It's all emaciated and
Anyways,
terrible.
have we
Just
read all this?
terrible. Yes.
Yes, okay. All right.
We're still on that. It's still in the morning. We're still plowing through a bunch of these.
Yeah. It's been 2 days, so I think they're on... Are we on day 12?
Day
Did it
11.
say 12?
No, it's 11 still.
Okay.
It's just we probably need to finish this today, just because if we don't, it's going to be a long time before we need to record again, and we're going to forget all of this. Or at
That's
least
true.
I will, because I don't watch our videos. I don't like us. It's like when you hear yourself in a recording, and you're like, "Oh, I sound like that."
Right.
I've actually kind of gotten over that.
I was going to say, I used to do that, but I don't.
I used to be way, like, I hated it, but now it's like, yeah, that's what I sound like.
But I go back and listen to some of our old stuff, or, you know, whatever, and it, like, just watching the best ofs, and it is like, God, it was kind of cringy.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
that's
just how we've evolved over the last 4-ish years.
yeah,
I guess.
we're evolved. We're higher beings
Yes,
now.
we are professional YouTubers.
Worship us, professional YouTubers with our 20 views per video.
That's right.
Ugh.
We get 100 on the visual novels.
Yeah, we're the ones that you titled hentai something.
Yeah. The one that clickbait people into checking out by typing in hentai on YouTube.
I mean, God, dude, YouTube, this whole YouTube thing is really trying to push us towards being clickbaity, and because every time we do kind of dabble in it as a joke, it works.
Right, every time, because I have done it, like that one that I said that we can't have a thumbnail, and I threw like my shocked face on it.
Yeah.
It's like, obviously that's a joke, because I hate thumbnails like
Right,
that.
yeah.
But it's like,
But
yeah,
people
people are
watched
probably
it.
going to click on it, or anything we title, like hentai is overrated. People are going to be like, what? I got to click on
I
that.
just search hentai. Hentai. Look.
Yeah, or the random Sonic one that has Jessica Negri on it.
Because we talk about Sonic porn, so that's in the
Right.
tags. So someone types in Sonic porn on YouTube of all things. Yeah, perverts.
Right. There's Sonic porn out there, but it's not going to be on YouTube. Go somewhere
It
else.
might be on YouTube. I don't know.
Well, it
Some
could
people
be.
get away with it. All right. Anyway,
Yeah, they're done talking about Sonic porn.
I'm never done talking about Sonic porn.
Please be.
My childhood. That maybe grew feebler by the day, eroded by cruel reality.
That's no good.
Oh, Sonic says, please stop.
Yeah.
Even as we came to understand that waiting would only bring us to slow death, we clung to that shred of hope, piling speculation upon speculation.
I mean, in that exact one, he's talking about people touching you in a way that you don't want to be touched.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh,
if somebody
God.
touches you in a way that, or something, that's no good.
I don't like high fives. We built excuses out of sand. We convinced ourselves it was too early to decide. We stayed where we were, and we waited for nothing.
We built this city.
Trapped in oblivious lethargy, we lived for nothing but to avoid death.
We built this city out of lots of sand.
When our stomachs growled, we chewed on blades of grass and insects. When our throats were parched, we gulped from the first puddle of dirty water we saw. Naturally, it wasn't long before our stomachs turned violently against
Yeah,
us.
why would you do that?
More diarrhea.
We have a vending machine here, but we don't want to use it.
Last ditch effort.
Yeah.
Somebody said chewing bamboo charcoal might be effective against diarrhea.
Damn those loud-ass cicadas.
Right?
They're
Within hours, everyone's mouth was stained black. We searched and searched for anything edible. As long as it was digestible, we ate it. Anything and everything. The rest of our time was spent lying in our sleeping bags, stroking our cramping, weak stomachs as we pretended to sleep.
You didn't search for everything. There's still a dog.
Right? If we were lucky enough to fall unconscious, there was a brief respite from the pain.
Here's day 12.
Oh my god. 8:25? Coming up on it. The 12th day in the valley.
12th day.
Lately, I was waking every morning from dreams of food. I ate my pillow. Walking in the forest, I came across a trailer cart with broken wheels. When I draw close and look over the edge, there's a huge cardboard box full of canned food just sitting inside.
She's just one of those My Strange Addiction people that eat her mattress or...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Or those people who, get, they have to have surgery to get all the hair pulled out of their stomach.
Yeah.
Giant hairballs.
Right.
Not just full, bursting at the seams. There are dozens of cans in that box. Beef boiled with soy sauce and ginger, mackerel cooked in miso, even canned peaches and pineapples.
Oh.
Untucking my shirt to make a pouch, I cautiously load it full of cans, making sure to stay alert and keep an eye on my surroundings. If I bring all this back, everyone will be able to eat until their stomachs are bulging. What a fantastic windfall. The looks on their faces when I come back. Not to worry, we have a can opener.
I come back, but we don't have a can opener.
But seriously, what was a bike cart doing all the way up in the mountains in the first place? A moment after that doubt flashes through my mind, I abruptly realize, oh, this is a dream. I can fly!
Yeah, I can fly or make people take their clothes off.
I could turn this into a sex dream. Anyway, I'll just take these back to camp now. Let's all gorge ourselves until we can't eat another bite. I tried to focus on that thought, but once the first realization hit, I could never manage to fall back into the illusion.
They find all this food and then eat it, but someone's deathly allergic to pineapples,
Oh.
and that's the first person that dies.
Right, yeah. Everyone else is fine, but it's like, oh, pineapples. Did her in. My lips burn. I ate too much pineapple. Mostly I
You ate it with a spoon.
with a start at this point. The instant my eyes opened, my stomach began gurgling violently, and the retching physical pain of it twisted my face into a miserable grimace. Even if it was a dream, I wish I'd at least taken a bite. When I wrapped up the story at this point, everyone would always laugh. You're such an idiot, Amine.
Well, maybe it would transfer via osmosis.
Right? I'd hide half the food. I'd give everybody one can, then hide the rest. I'd hide the whole stash and eat it in secret. The majority openly admitted something along these lines, then added with clear amusement that I was probably the only one stupid enough to come skipping right back without a second thought. It was now the 12th day. 12 days we'd spent living worse than stray dogs.
Dogs.
I'm hungry. Even among those who had been comparatively healthy, unmistakable symptoms of weakening were beginning to appear. The soft footsteps of death creeping steadily up behind us were growing impossible to ignore. Our nerves were rubbed raw from tension, our spirits timid and fearful. The first to be caught by our shadowy pursuer was Komori-san's pet, Akun, the Shih Tzu Allione.
Sure.
It wasn't a durable breed by nature, and what food we had simply wasn't suitable for a dog with a weak stomach.
I don't know. He looks okay.
It's gonna die. And so, having fallen into a high fever during the days of relentless rain, Allione simply never opened his eyes again. He died quietly early this morning.
Oh.
Sad.
So it's just dead
Time
lying
to
there.
eat.
Akun.
Kneeling in front of the lifeless body, flat on its side with limbs stiffly extended, Komori-san removed the collar from Allione's neck. Allione? I don't know. Neck and wrapped it around her thin wrist.
Akun.
Yeah. Hey, Con. Gonna buy you a drink. That dog had been like a brother to Komori, but she didn't break into loud wails over its corpse. Her strangled sobs forced their way out from behind clenched teeth, seeming all the more piteous for it. Nobody could find anything to say to her. After a time, someone mumbled about at least giving the animal a proper burial. Kazuki immediately raised an objection.
Oh, I wonder what it will be.
Yeah.
What's this? Aren't we going to eat it?
What's this? Ooh.
What's this?
We'd all been vaguely thinking it, but deeply ingrained our social norms had kept us from admitting that even to ourselves, and yet Kazuki had blurted it out almost casually. Eat it? The dog?
Yes, what else would I be talking about? Let's have the poor creature be of use to us.
At Kazuki's typically cold words, every one of us sharply drew breath. Eat? Yes, there was nothing in the world we wanted to do more at this moment. The dog in front of us was nothing but a corpse. Now that it was dead, it was no longer a dog, it was meat. Would it be okay to eat a dog that died from sickness? It was Kazuki's suggestion, so presumably it was safe, but maybe you should cook it first.
Yeah.
Surely we couldn't start talking about this right in front of the grieving Komori-san, and this whole idea just felt so Wrong.
Throw some corn in there. And it's a corn dog.
Get that salt. We all hesitated. The silence grew.
I've been saving the salt for just this occasion.
Yeah. To be honest, we wanted to eat it. But something inside us was still offering considerable resistance to the idea. Nobody could make up their own mind.
You don't know how to cook a dog.
Right? All eyes settled on our last remaining formal authority figure, Captain Sakashita.
Yes, she's right about this. Let's eat it.
From the expression on the captain's face, those undeniably callous words must have tasted bitter in her mouth, almost like a dog. Komori-san jerked her head up as if stung, then slowly turned from side to side, looking into our faces one by one. Everyone averted their eyes from Komori's tearful gaze.
It's not Komori.
Everyone except Kazuki, who met it firmly and gave her a small nod. What that dog doing? Staring steadily down into those plaintive eyes, Kazuki murmured, "This is Alione's final duty." Komori-san's face crumpled as she slowly croaked out an answer.
No, actually, that's its final duty, and she points behind it.
Everything always shits itself when they die. They never show that in the shows.
I understand.
Sorry, taking a drink. Inhuman. The word was written clearly on Komori-san's face for anyone who cared to look. Even so, most of us let out small, involuntary sighs of relief at her surrender.
Because we were going to do it anyways.
Right. You're next.
In that case, it would be best to make it into meat before the insects get started.
But that relief was short-lived. Kazuki's words once again left us all frozen like stones. Right. If we were going to eat that corpse, we'd have to butcher it first. There was no choice. We had to pluck the hair from the dog's body and carve it up using a knife. But of course, no one wanted that job.
I do.
Again, we looked to the captain. Biting her lower lip. Dog. The captain looked into
Dog bacon.
turned to Kazuki. And finally, Kazuki closed her right eye and tilted her head lightly to the left.
It's bacon!
Oh, wait, no.
I presume you're familiar with rock, paper, scissors, everyone?
We put the dog on some paper, smash it in with a rock, and then cut it with some scissors. As a result of an impartial game of chance, the duty of processing the corpse fell on Koide-senpai. She tried briefly to resist, protesting, "I've never butchered a dog before." But of course, none of us had made a habit of carving up puppies either, so the argument didn't really hold together.
Well, if you have made a habit of it, but you have done it before?
Yeah, I mean, once or twice. As the kitchen knife trembled dangerously in Koide's hand, the captain tried offering her some rough encouragement along the lines of, "You're a doctor's daughter, aren't you?" To be honest, though, it was a little hard to grasp what that had to do with anything. Visibly bracing herself, Koide gripped the knife firmly in both hands, took a step forward. But in that moment, her eyes met those of the dead dog below her, and she immediately burst into terrified tears. Naturally, the gallant hero Kazuki stepped in to save the day. Taking in her good hand the punishment rod she normally used to strike the pan for our morning wake-up call, she swung it down with all her might on the dog's head. Jesus!
Oh, okay.
Everyone gasped in shock at the gruesome act. Many barely stifling screams. If I start shrieking pointlessly, maybe I'm next. That irrational fear seized all of us, and silence fell over the valley.
I mean, yeah, don't you think you'd give warning, like, look away? Or...
Yeah.
You can't even tell where the eyes are now. Well, there's one over there rolling down the hill. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to eat that.
Problem solved. Have at it.
Meeting eyes with the dog is scary, is it? Then we'll just crush its eyes beyond recognition. It was about as elegant a solution as blowing off your jaw with a shotgun to cure a toothache.
I can't. I just can't. This is too cruel to rule. I can't do it. I suppose I can take over, but do tell me, what would you have done if I wasn't here? Say you were the only one who survived that fall. Nobody would be here to come to your rescue, you know.
As she spoke, Kazuki tossed her wooden sword aside, then took the kitchen knife from Koide's hands with a disdainful little snort. Everyone's got their hands full with their own problems right now. No one's going to protect you if you're weak. You're simply going to die first. Kazuki might not have said it point blank, but her meaning was all too clear. We studied the ground at our feet in silence. The strong eat the weak. Men and beasts, insects and plants, all live and die by that rule. Many hissed about Kazuki's cruelty in low voices, but her powerful words and unhesitating actions left no room for open objection. Kazuki possessed not only the decisive personality of a leader, but also the ability to inspire fear, characteristic of a ruler. Everyone could only hang their heads and obey.
Like a dog.
You're quite the lovely person, you know that.
Thank you. Aren't I, though? Your boyfriend told me the same thing in bed.
Oh, snap.
I'll let you know before anyone else when the meat is ready, so could you please give me some space for now?
Ellipsis.
Captain Sakashita turned abruptly on her heel and stalked away without another
I
word.
knew he was cheating on me.
That was pretty heavy-handed. The captain was crying, you know.
Better this than another pointless fight, wouldn't you say? When you need to shut up a woman who's prone to irritating tirades, a firm, preemptive strike of that sort is your only option.
Who's this boyfriend of hers anyway? Is he hot?
Did you really sleep with them? Not a clue, but judging from the way she didn't offer a rebuttal, I either hit a little too close to home, or else she has no romantic experience whatsoever and interpreted my comment as pointed mockery. Either way, it must have stung if she couldn't manage any retort whatsoever.
Fucking got her. And what were you planning to do if she just snapped and jumped at you? I have a knife.
Tell me, would you come swinging at a woman who had just casually crushed a dog's skull? I don't know, I've never been in that situation before. See, there's a method to madness.
You had this all planned out from the start, like 11 days ago.
You overestimate me. There was a non-zero possibility she'd attack regardless. Although, well, I suppose I did have a bit of a contingency plan, namely, allowing myself to be beaten black and blue in order to earn the group's sympathy. A woman who's crushed a dead dog's head so that we could all survive. And a woman who lashed out violently from personal emotions and struck a wounded younger girl. Who do you think the majority would side with?
I don't know, people like dogs. You're a scary person, Kazuki.
Yes, I'm well aware. I'm afraid I'll almost certainly never be popular with boys, ever.
Except maybe my brother that I bathe with. I badly wanted to scream, if you're well aware, how about doing something about it? But I could anticipate her answer, no doubt delivery in her best nails-on-a-chalkboard girly voice. I'm sorry, I just can't. It's too hard for weird old me. Or some such. It felt as though I'd had maggots crawling down my spine at the mere thought.
Oh, they might actually be there.
Ew, gross. Oh, it's more leeches, of course. In any case, if there's a single man in the world who'd want to go out with this woman, I'd really like to meet him, so I can get him the help he needs. And so, Kazuki cleaned and gutted the dog, reducing it to meat. We soaked it in barbecue sauce from the communal stockpile.
You got
Nobody drank that
barbecue
already?
sauce?
And cooked its little body golden brown. The powerful aroma of grease and spicy sauce wafted through the air. We swallowed mouthfuls of warm drool again and again. Just a few days ago, that hunk of meat had been an energetic, adorable little dog, frolicking around Komori's feet. There was definitely a widespread feeling of guilt, but...
Little dog's gone from the picture.
Yeah.
So sad.
The sound of... I wonder if they're going to, like, knock off every girl from the picture.
Yeah. Well, they probably won't
dripping
come back
grease
here.
were irresistibly alluring. Even those who had whispered heatedly about Kazuki's inhuman cruelty couldn't overcome their own stomachs. When the meat was finally grilled and ready to be divided, they all swarmed up with plates in their outstretched hands.
Where do we get plates? Jeez,
Right?
we're pretty prepared down here.
Why didn't we eat those? I was the one who carved the meat for distribution. The rear legs looked to be the choicest and the most nourishing part of the body. Lopping off one with a kitchen knife, I placed it on Captain Sakashita's plate. The second went to Kazuki.
Original or extra crispy?
You want dark meat or light? After that, I divided the meat as evenly as I could between the rest of us. We had even carefully washed the internal organs and cooked them as well. After distributing it all, there was nothing left to do but greedily devour my share. It felt like such a very long time since I'd tasted meat. The first bite was so delicious that I went quite literally dizzy with bliss. My protein-starved tongue tingled as the animal fat slowly spread out inside my mouth, and my stomach squeezed tightly in on itself as though consciously trying to wring every particle of sustenance from the food. Of course.
Intermission.
It was ornamental. It was an ornamental lapdog, a toy breed. Why didn't she have a Saint Bernard or something?
Right.
When distributed among the entire group, its body provided us with a mere mouthful of meat each. Even so, we all wept with joy at the nourishment, and as soon as the meat was gone, everyone began crunching away at the bones.
If only she had like a Great Dane or something.
Right? We had assumed Komori would firmly resist the idea of consuming her pet's flesh, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. She bit into her share of meat like all the rest, sniffling miserably the entire time, tears blending with the mucus running from her nose. She ate. This meat tastes like snot and tears. That one mouthful of meat kept us alive for today. I don't think we'll ever forget that taste for the rest of our lives, even if we want to.
It was very delicious, but it shouldn't be.
I can never have barbecue again.
I can never be around anyone's pets.
Yeah, Jesus.
13th day?
The 13th day in the valley.
All right, lucky number.
It happened far too suddenly. Uh-oh. Komori-san, who'd seemed perfectly fine just a moment before, crumbled limply to the ground. For a moment, everyone turned their head at the sound was simply dumbfounded.
Komori? That's not the right voice.
Kaneda-senpai called out to her partner, but Komori gave no response. Her began to twitch convulsively on the ground.
Oh, God.
Komori hadn't fainted from lightheadedness or anemia. She was thrashing her body spasmodically?
All
Is
right.
that the word?
Spasmodically.
As if she'd been possessed by some malevolent spirit. It was at once bizarre and terrifying to watch. Kaneda, suspecting an epileptic seizure, forcibly pinned down her partner's body from above in an attempt to keep her from hurting herself.
You're not supposed to do that.
No. Didn't end up breaking something.
Somebody help! Komori's...
Koide-senpai and I jumped up to answer Kaneda's call, and as the others looked on in shocked silence. We managed to move Komori-san onto a blanket, but the seizure continued. At Koide's anxious command, I ran off to find my own partner. How is she? What happened to her?
What do you mean, how is she?
She's still seasoned.
Can you describe her collapse? Were there any warning signs? I don't know. She was just on the ground all of a sudden, thrashing about like a fish out of water. Maybe it's epilepsy? I saw a kid collapse like this back in grade school. This has lasted too long for an epileptic fit. Komori's breathing was rapid. I think that's Amane now.
Oh, yeah. Komori's breathing was rapid. Her teeth chattered in her mouth, and her unfocused eyes swung randomly from left to right. Her hands and feet trembled strongly on a regular rhythm, as if matching the beating of her heart. It's a pretty sick dance move.
We ate that dog. Maybe she got some kind of parasite from it. We cooked the dog quite thoroughly before we ate it, didn't we? Seems rather unlikely. Has Komori-san eaten anything else unusual lately?
After a moment of thought, Kaneda's mouth fell open with a little ah.
It's the mushrooms. Now that you mention it, she was eating some sort of flower bud. A flower? What kind of flower? I don't know the name. It was pretty and yellow. It had this pretty pink thing I'd never seen before. She said, I wonder if we can eat these. And then picked a few and ate them on the spot.
Well, wonder no longer.
I wonder what it was. Wolfsbane, maybe?
She's a werewolf.
Wolfsbane flowers are bright purple, so a foxglove, maybe, you idiot.
Kazuki laid a hand on Komori's trembling forehead.
She has a fever. We can't do much other than keep her warm and make sure... I think she's already warm.
Yeah.
Make sure she stays hydrated. Hopefully she'll sweat it out. Will that really be enough? I'm sorry, but there's simply nothing else we can do.
You got any better ideas?
In any case, please take this as a lesson and stop foraging recklessly. Only eat what you know to be safe.
Under these starvation conditions, it was inevitable that our immune system would grow weak. Recently, drinking water raw had become common practice, as no one wanted to waste time boiling it when they could be searching for food, and when foraging in the forest, many would pop even totally unfamiliar plants into their mouth if they looked vaguely edible. By now, diseases so mild that a normal person probably wouldn't even notice them were potentially life-threatening to us. That was how weak we'd grown.
Just have one person, be in charge of water.
Right? Just constantly be boiling water. As we slowly carried Komori's quivering body into her tent, we could only grind our teeth at our powerlessness.
Kazumi, have a second?
We just left Komori to rest when Sakamai-senpai called out to us.
I'm actually very busy right now. Ibuki's acting kind of weird.
I had a very bad feeling about this. The moment we followed Sakama into her tent, that presentiment was realized.
I don't know. There's so many big words.
Hey, what day is today? How many days have passed since we came here?
Wrapped up in her sleeping bag, Ibuki stared intently at a point on the tent's canopy, smiling slackly at nothing in particular as she spoke.
What day is today? It's Bender's birthday. What a day for a birthday. Let's all have some cake.
Today is the 26th. We've been here 13 days.
Ugh, man, I want to go home already.
Bite my shiny metal ass.
Hey, our friend. I didn't even know he still played games.
Yeah.
Even as she answered, Ibuki's eyes never turned towards us. The tone of her voice was vague, unfocused, almost like a sleepwalker conversing with her dream.
Let's step out for a second.
As directed, we moved to leave the tent, but Ibuki immediately piped up.
Hey, where you going? I want to come too.
I'll be back real soon. You just stay put and sleep.
What day is today?
The 26th.
Ugh, man, I want to go home already.
Now, if it were the 27th or something, yeah, I'd stay here.
I don't like even days.
You see what I mean? She's been like this since the morning. Usually she goes right back to normal, but it's been hours now. What am I supposed to do if she just stays like this? There's nothing you or any of us can do. Not only do we have no medicine, we can't provide her with the nutrition her body needs to heal itself. So we just leave her to rot? All we can do is watch? I'm very sorry.
You just, kill her.
It's not your fault. I'm the one being unreasonable. Sorry about that.
Let me just smile.
That's quite all right.
Sakuma-senpai's powerless attempt at a smile conveyed only resignation and defeat, maybe all the more pitiful by her swollen face. It wasn't the flushed swelling of a fever. Her face was drained of all color, her ghastly pale cheeks visibly rough and dry. She needs some fucking Jergens. She was blinking constantly through our conversation. They had been difficult merely to keep her eyes open behind those bloated cheeks.
Sakuma-san, your own malnutrition is written on your face. Please be careful. Yeah, I'll watch my step.
Exactly how was she supposed to be careful about starving when there was no damn food? Sakuma seemed mature in refraining from yelling the obvious retort in Kazuki's face, but quite possibly she simply no longer had the energy. Just how long would this situation last?
I don't know.
Mentally,
Forever.
physically, in every possible way, we were being taxed beyond our capacity to endure. How long could we possibly hold it together under such circumstances? Even Kazuki, our acknowledged authority on mental toughness, could no longer fully hide her fatigue. Her youthfully framed face, burdened with that accumulated exhaustion, seemed to have aged somehow. Gently closing her eyes, Kazuki breathed a brief sigh, then proceeded to depress me still further.
Let's keep this between us, but today's my birthday. The truth is, Sakura-senpai and Haruka-san are in very bad shape as well.
Sakurai had initially been recovering fairly well, but our unsanitary environment and inability to adequately disinfect her wound proved catastrophic. She was beginning to exhibit symptoms of sepsis, almost certainly caused by bacteria invading through her wound. She was now running a high fever with a consistently elevated heartbeat. She tripped over her tongue when she tried to speak, and her limbs were routinely racked with brief, painful muscle spasms, as if her body was trying to contract. She needed antibiotics, and soon. Haruka-san was no better. In fact, she was worse. Her debilitation had progressed to the point that she no longer showed any response to our voices.
It's just going
They're
great.
just dropping like flies now. I thought it would be like one a day or something now. They're like, we got like 4 of them going.
It all came down to inadequate treatment, compounded by worsening malnutrition.
Or undernutrition.
The dog had been our only halfway decent meal in days. Otherwise, we were getting by on cooked snails, wild grasses, and our gruel. Really nothing more than faintly colored water, eat with a few grains of boiled rice floating at the bottom. Even minor injuries couldn't heal on such a diet.
You'd think you'd use like the barbecue sauce to season up the snails or something.
Just something, yeah. Only take like one little drop on a snail.
On the first day of our trip, we ate fluffy white rice steaming from the cooker. Couldn't get that memory out of my mind. Back then, we gobbled the rice down without a second thought. Even had the nerve to complain about our coarse side dishes. Just remembering it made me want to scream at the pampered luxury of it all. We were so starved for sugar that tea made from the skins of onions almost tasted sweet to our tongues. But then again, our initial yearning for sweets only lasted for the first carefree week or so.
Then we gambled for chocolate.
At some point, we began to crave salt far more than sugar. By now, we'd been reduced to licking the rust that formed on the wrecked frame of our
Oh,
bus
God,
after
don't
the
do
days
that.
of rain.
You guys are stupid.
Right? I had reached my absolute limit. When I crawled into bed at night, I hesitated to close my eyes, afraid I'd never open them again. But then again, maybe it would be better that way. If I let my eyelids fall shut, I would sink deeply into blissful oblivion. If my heart would then quietly stop beating, wouldn't it be a blessing?
Make him dream about pineapples again.
Yeah, I would keep it all. I couldn't help but feel that death without suffering would be a happier fate than to struggle on like this. But whenever I expressed those weak thoughts out loud, Kazuki would scold me.
It's too early to give up.
Is it? Kazuki whispered those words forcefully, as if trying to convince herself they were true. It seemed too cruel to fire back. Then how long do we have to endure? How long before we can finally give up? I could find no further words, and silence settled on the tent.
Oh, man.
Jesus.
Nothing else to report that day?
Someone is dead. Like they're waking up and someone's dead, right?
Yeah.
14th day in the valley.
Haruka.
Oh, I thought that was a phone. I was like, oh, you got service. When morning came, Kazuki struck the bottom of the pan at our normal wake-up time, but there were no signs of activity from within the tents.
Their phones are dead.
They'd have to be.
It wasn't that the others weren't awake, they simply couldn't get up. Recently, just standing upright was exhausting. It wasn't rare for someone to spend the majority of the day lying in their sleeping bag. Even when we attempted to move, it would often prove impossible. Every time we tried to stand, our joints would scream in pain. If we pulled ourselves upright by clinging to a tree or rock, our knees would be shaking so hard that we could barely walk.
Oop.
Oh, everyone's still there.
Yep.
Even so, as the sun rose and warmed the valley, those who could still move came crawling slowly out of their tents, basking in the rays of morning light. We resembled nothing so much as a lethargic pack of iguanas escaped from the Galapagos Islands.
Everyone get into their exact positions again.
Right? For some reason, it felt as though the mere touch of the sun on our skin gave us some small boost of energy.
Photosynthesis.
It's just like arms out.
Photosynthesis.
Of course, it was mostly an illusion. Our stomachs were still empty. But either way, moving around aimlessly would be a waste of calories, so we all found our seats in the sun and kept still. It was tempting to just flop down on the spot and close our eyes, but the cold stone beneath us stole body heat quickly, so lying down would burn a surprising amount of energy.
Plus, you probably shouldn't just fall asleep in the sun.
Right.
Staying awake and sitting quietly was the best way to conserve our strength. We sat on the hard ground as if rooted to the spot, unable to do anything but silently agonize over our individual fates. I gotta do something. How can I survive this? The thought churned endlessly around our heads.
Who was lying?
Merely focusing our nourishment-starved brains on a question took all our effort. Actually producing an answer was beyond our power. And yet, even now, we were still human beings. We still hadn't broken the absolute minimum rules.
It still isn't hell. This is still a world worth living in.
Oh God, it's not enough. I need more time to drink. At my side, Kazuki murmured those words to herself, slowly and deliberately, as if confirming that she was still firmly conscious, still able to speak.
But what shall we do? It may well be only a matter of time.
I followed her gaze around the area. Everyone was staring goggle-eyed. Goggle-eyed? Goggle-eyed?
Google goggle.
Into the distance, their pale, slack faces shining greasily in the morning sun. There was something dangerous in the air. Given a small push in the wrong direction, it felt as though even our humanity would instantly crumble underneath us.
Yuji.
Huh? What did you just say?
My brother's name.
Kazami Yuji?
Yep, that's my little brother.
I want to meet him.
I bet you do, you slut. If we get back alive, I'll introduce you. I'm positive you'll get along.
I'm looking forward to it. That's definitely gonna happen, okay?
Mostly because he likes big tits, and I can tell yours are gonna happen.
And bathing with people.
And poop, but you can get over that one.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a promise.
That afternoon, Mr. Ochi returned from his escape
Whoa.
attempt to rejoin us on our gradual passive slide towards death.
Really?
He was completely emaciated. His sunken eyes were as dark and hollow as those of a wild animal, but more than lamenting his failure, the group was overjoyed at his return. Another person to eat.
Yeah.
I see, he failed.
I was gonna say, wouldn't you not be overjoyed at his return?
Right.
We were back to the... Why would he even come back?
I don't know.
Keep
Keep going.
Either die or find something.
We were back to the drawing board yet again. That was a heavy, if somewhat abstract disappointment. Even so, the return of our only adult male was no small relief.
Where's the dog?
Not to say that our teacher's presence caused any dramatic changes in the situation.
You guys ate the dog? I'm out of here. You're
Ugh.
weird.
Stole my salami and ate the dog? As always, we were desperately short of food. If anything, practically speaking, Mr. Ochi's return translated to nothing more than another mouth to feed, worsening our already meager daily rations.
Why did he come back? I don't...
Yeah, I would not come back. As bad as it is, like, if you don't find anything, you just keep walking. You either die or find someone.
Right.
Don't come back a fucking failure.
That evening, having entered the large tent to check up on the wounded, I noticed that Haruka-san had quietly stopped breathing. 2 weeks after Shinkanai, Azawa, and Akabe's deaths, we had our fourth casualty.
There it is.
Haruka had died lying in the sleeping bag in which she'd spent the last 14 days of her life, her eyes and mouth half open. It was a gruesome sight, but there wasn't any real agitation among us. We'd all been prepared for this, even expecting it. I was no exception. Rather than grieving the death of my friend, I gazed down at her corpse in a stupor. A single thought was swirling relentlessly through my dull mind. Wonder what she tastes like.
How's she taste?
Yep. When a living thing dies, it becomes food. Kazuki had said that was only natural. So, does that go for her, too? I wasn't the only one suspecting as much. Without a doubt, the others were thinking the exact same thing.
Stop writing down other people's thoughts. It's really confusing.
At some point, all eyes had turned towards our teacher. But Mr. Ochi said only, "I'll dig the grave," quietly bringing his hands together in front of Haruka-san's corpse. What had I been thinking? Of course we were burying her. A human being eating another human being is unforgivable, no matter what. We must have been going a little soft in the head. Right, our friend had died, and we were upset. We'd lost our heads from the shock, that was all.
Can you even, I mean, it makes you sick anyways, doesn't it?
You gotta cook it.
Well, okay.
I mean, yeah, it does. Like, it screws up your physiology. Like, cannibals are known to, get, the shakes and stuff like that.
But it would keep you alive.
Yeah, you would be alive.
Yeah, ugh.
Our shoulders sagged to learn our stomachs would go unfilled, but all the time we heaved sighs of relief.
I'm allergic to human meat.
Without a single word of objection, we silently watched Mr. Ochi walk down into the forest and bury Haruka's remains. I'm vile. I'm a vile, disgusting excuse for a human being. I'm a cockroach. The shame welled up so suddenly and so heavily inside me that I couldn't contain my tears. Lowering myself shakily down onto the hard ground, I broke into wretched, violent sobs.
Yeah, the days are getting...
Someone's definitely digging her up and eating her.
She's carrying less and less each day.
Right.
The 15th day in the valley.
She's only writing it to keep from going insane at this point.
Right.
I was awake, but I couldn't even open my eyes. My head felt packed to the bursting with dull... Packed to the bursting.
Packed to the bursting!
Heavy lead. Every inch of my body was painfully cold and exhausted, to the point that even breathing was difficult. There wasn't a drop of saliva in my mouth. I know the feeling. And the back of my throat burned bitterly. I couldn't even speak.
It might just be my voice.
Yeah.
This morning, Kazuki seemed to be in similar shape. When I finally managed to force my eyelids up just a sliver, I could vaguely see her lying perfectly still on the other side of the tent, curled up like a cat. I'd always admired her strength, wondered how she trained that tiny body to be so believably hot and sexy and tenacious, but it seemed that even her amazing endurance was reaching its limits. No, she'd probably long since passed those limits, but if Kazuki were to collapse, we would have lost a large source of hope. Without her, some of us might have long since given up, stopped even trying to survive.
I know the first 40 episodes of this were just a bunch of random nonsense, but at least we could joke.
Yeah, I know.
This is just,
God.
we're just reading at this point.
It's
just
just so rough.
It's just, what do we do? Oh, yeah, dog bacon.
Well, no, you're taking a drink. I'll talk while you take a drink. Thank you for breaking the story so we could take a drink break.
As we die inside. I haven't even read much, and I'm just...
I know. It's my mouth is so dry. I'm
still
starving
time.
to death.
I'm starving to death. I'm going to be bacon soon.
Oh, okay. We're back. We're good.
Okay, we're satiated.
Yeah. Kazuki had probably been pushing herself unreasonably for our sake, forcing herself to appear energetic and powerful. She looked so very small right now.
She always small.
Kazuki? I hoarsely croaked out her name. There was no response.
Oh, shit.
Hey, Kazuki, are you dead?
She's not dead yet. There's no way.
My arm had grown painfully thin, but it still felt heavy as I reached out towards my friend's back. She was still warm, and I could feel her back rising and falling ever so slightly with her breathing. She was still alive.
Well, you are allergic to human meat.
Yep.
Kazuki, please don't die. Kazuki? My tear-filled voice finally elicited a response from Kazuki. Her tone, understandably, was sexually grouchy.
Oh God, here comes another. I'm allergic. If I die, you can feel free to eat me.
What a horrible thing to say. Kazuki's words abruptly brought back the memories of Haruka-san's death, and my breath caught in my throat.
I'm delicious. I have tasted myself.
Don't die, Kazuki. If you have to die, take me with you. Don't leave me behind. Don't abandon me. Surviving alone in this hell would be meaningless. Kazuki responded to my heartfelt whimpering with a snuffling little laugh.
It's a joke. Not to worry. I'm not going to die. Yet.
Oh. She wasn't going to die just yet, but eventually that time would come. Everything living dies. Another rule of nature, the most fundamental of all. That inevitable end was no longer an abstract, distant concept for us. Our debilitation had reached the final stages. One by one, we were wasting away.
Whoop.
Aw, we were right. It is just going to, like, plop them off.
Aw, man. They're just going to sit back in their same spots. It's just going to chop them off one by one.
Today, Sakurai-senpai and Komori-san were the casualties. Sakurai died from her sepsis. Komori killed herself.
Oh.
We found her hanging from a tree.
Oh, wow.
Jesus.
Okay.
Numb as we'd grown to horror, the suicide sent... What is Jake Paul doing here? The suicide sent a disturbed ripple through
Rescue
the camp.
us, you asshole!
But after the initial shock passed, we felt little more than resigned acceptance.
He's off boxing 50-year-olds now, so...
Oh my god. And losing.
No, he's winning
Did he
because
win? Because they're super old?
he's boxing YouTubers and 50-year-old
yeah.
people who haven't boxed in 20 years.
Yeah, well, he's got to stroke that ego.
Yeah.
Since eating her dog's flesh, Komori had clearly been mentally unstable and physically frail. Even before her sudden collapse yesterday, we'd all seen her acting strangely. She would totter off alone into the forest, then wander around calling loudly for Aleone. And back at the camp, she'd push her useless battery-dead cell phone against her ear and hold extended conversations with her dead pet. Everyone had felt vaguely apprehensive about her bizarre behavior, but there was nothing we could do for her. When the labored breathing of a girl sitting nearby grew faint as a whisper, the thought, another one's dying, would pass through our minds. But we didn't feel sorrow or pity. They were luxuries we could no longer afford. When Mr. Ochi carried each new corpse to the forest to bury it, the only thought we could muster was one less mouth to feed. Cold-hearted, cruel thoughts, but we no longer even had the strength to hate ourselves for them. The terror of watching your friends die one after another. The terror that you might be next. The escalating terror of our reality overwhelmed us, and some began to escape from it entirely, drunk on the adrenaline our brains secreted to numb the agonizing fear. Our thoughts lurched in bizarre, irrational directions.
Is it about to skip a few days?
I don't know. I don't want to die. If somebody dies in my place, maybe I'll survive. Without any logic or evidence, many had begun to believe that something of the sort, that inside this ravine one life could somehow be traded for another. If somebody else dies, all live. In this claustrophobic little world where nothing enters or leaves, the total amount of well-being must be fixed. Depriving another of their happiness is the only path to survival. That was the new Dogma of the Dying. Oh, that's a fucking sweet band name.
Dogma of the Dying?
Yeah.
Hey, hurry up and die already, why don't you? Right back at you. Do me a favor and stop breathing.
That day, the only ones with enough energy to do more than sit, limply on the ground cursing, were Mr. Ochi and the captain. Since Mr. Ochi's return for the previous afternoon, the two of them had made numerous trips to forage for food on behalf of those who could no longer move. They even cooked meager meals of weeds and snails, then fed them to the weakened girls. They spoke words of encouragement as they spoon-fed the feeble. Don't give up. You can't die. If those two hadn't been there, none of us would have made it past morning. The thought drove home just how useless I was in comparison, and tears welled up in my eyes.
That was a weird flash.
Several times since Mr. Ochi's return, the two had even managed to capture a few animals deep in the forest.
Well, damn.
Little chunks of venison and wild hare began to appear in the standard weeded soup. The girls who ate it slowly began to regain some of their vitality. Kazuki, they got meat, see? It's been a while, huh?
It's been a while. I'll pass. Give it to one of the other girls.
Why?
Eating meat's too risky right now. Might end up catching hepatitis.
They cooked it thoroughly, so it's fine.
I don't want to die yet, and I don't want to suffer after surviving this, either.
By now, Captain Sakashita and Mr. Ochi were gathering the majority of the group's food. And Kazuki, whose sudden debilitation was so intense she had difficulty standing, had quickly and utterly lost the status she had gained among us since the fall. Everyone worshipped the captain like a god for providing food. And despite all that Kazuki had done for us up until now, no one expressed worry about her condition. Far from it. The looks they gave her clearly read, "Hurry up and die." Maybe she was resistant to the idea of accepting the Ascendant Captain's charity. Whatever the case, Kazuki absolutely refused to eat the meat her rival brought back from the forest.
I mean, what are you going to do if they die? It's not like they're out adventuring or anything. They're just sitting there.
Yeah.
I mean, one less mouth to feed, I guess. But if you're
would-
the only one left, you're just going to sit there and die too.
I'm just surprised they're not eating the
yeah.
people. Why wouldn't you?
At
You're
least-
wasting meat.
At least one. Well, if they can catch animals.
I guess, but meat is meat. I'd have done it right out the gate. Idiotic pride for someone at death's door. But as irritated as I was, I couldn't betray or disobey Kazuki. I bitterly gave up our share of the meat, offering it to those who were even worse off. That night, I would come to understand that I had made the correct choice in doing so. Oh, shit.
Well,
A little before dawn, I woke up to the rustling sound of someone moving around in the tent. Sluggishly forcing open my heavy eyelids, I strained to see what was going on.
well, never mind. I guess it's good they didn't eat the
Yeah, oh my god.
Amane, wake up.
Maybe they were cutting chunks off the people.
Oh, I bet it is.
It wasn't animals.
Yeah.
Kazuki. Kazuki had rolled up her sleeping bag and packed all her belongings in the rucksack she normally used as a pillow. One hand clutching my shoulder, she slowly shook me awake. Huh? What's going on? Still half asleep, I spoke more loudly than I had intended. Kazuki quickly drew a forefinger to her mouth and whispered a brief, "Shh! Shut your stupid mouth."
Shut your mouth. Take a look at that.
Kazuki lifted the flap of the tent slightly open, and I peered through to see the captain and Mr. Ochi walking off together into the dark forest.
Yeah, they're just...
Huh? Mr. Ochi and Captain Sakashita? Where are they going?
Just grabbing chunks off the girls.
Uh-huh.
You don't need to know that. This is our chance. Let's slip out of this place.
Slip out? What are you...
I mean exactly what I said. We're leaving this mountain and going home. There's no longer any chance of help coming. We're going to do it ourselves.
Huh? I didn't understand what she was talking about. The words were clear enough, but the meaning just wouldn't register.
I mean, yeah, it seems like at this point, you're 14 days in.
Yeah,
like, let's pair off into two people, or you're two groups of two.
Yeah, just
and
go.
we'll all go.
Just go. Why? Do we have to do it now?
There's no time to explain. Prepare as quickly and quietly as possible. Make sure no one hears.
Huh? What about everybody Kazuki fixed a deadly serious gaze directly on my eyes, and I faltered to a halt.
Listen to me, Amane. We can't take ghouls back with us. Do you understand?
I don't understand at all, Kazuki. Ghouls? What's that supposed to mean?
Like zombies, obviously. If you're that curious, I'll make things clear later on. But for now, get a move on.
Okay.
All right. Wow.
I guess they're bailing. Yeah, I'm assuming that Mr. Ochi.
Yeah.
They were like cutting chunks
Like,
off
oh
the
look,
girls.
rabbit. And
Yeah.
It's just
And it was like people that they left out in the woods to get decomposed and shit. They didn't. Like, doesn't matter how much you cook it at that point.
yeah. Well, or they could have been just attracting the animals with the dead bodies. It could be animals. I don't know.
Yeah, but then the animals were eating the dead
Right.
bodies.
That's probably it. That's
Yeah.
probably it. They were eating the.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is a bad time.